Jungle.
Welcome into the Sideline Sports Show. Ben and Tim here with you on this lovely day before April Fool's Eve on March 31st. Tim, how are you doing, my friend?
Ben, I'm good, man. It's been a few weeks since we've been on.
Yeah.
March Madness has been dominating everything, and just it's a week off there as well. So just I'm happy to get back after it. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots happened in that time frame. But it's been good. It's all been great. March Madness has been great, and Tim, that's topic number one we got to talk about. March
Yeah,
Madness, I mean, has been fantastic. I mean, pretty much to live up to all expectations. I mean, a 15 seed getting to the Elite Eight for the first time ever in March Madness history. I mean, teams like Baylor getting put out against North Carolina in a big matchup, and a lot of other great games that have happened so far. What's your take so far on March Madness?
I think it's been a lot of fun, but it's also from the sake of if you're looking to have a good bracket, this was not the year.
Yeah.
Uh, it's rare. 15 seed gets one step away from the Final Four. That was pretty crazy. St. Peter's, good old Doug, at the famous TikTok star, just took the college world by storm. Um, Man, it was something to see. It was something to watch. They took down Kentucky, beat a Murray State team that they never trailed to in the game. And we talked about that numerous times. That Murray State team was good. I mean, I think they had won like 20 something in a row, undefeated in conference. Very good Murray State team. Then of course they take on Purdue, who had championship or bust mentality, and they take down the Boilermakers in the Sweet 16. And it was something to see. It was definitely a run that came out of left field. I mean, they were not somebody you projected or even thought that could make an upset, let alone three. So
Right.
it was very, very, very cool. Coach K, obviously, that's a big storyline. They were here in Greenville in my neck of the woods a couple weekends ago. Um, I wouldn't say they cruised in the first round, but they never really, the result was never really in doubt. They were down late to Michigan State in the Sunday nightcap, but they were able to push through that and make their way to Sweet 16. And then they kind of just they found their stride in the second half against Arkansas as well. So, and the fact that they're in the Final Four and they're taking on, of course, North Carolina, right? The first time these two teams have met, not in Final Four, but in the NCAA tournament ever. So, and of course, Coach K's last year, his last big dance, they're going to go head to head. And I mean, if you're North Carolina, what better way to send Coach K out with an L, in the Final Four? So it's definitely going to be a fun one as the old Tobacco Road goes down to the Big Easy.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting point that you mentioned. Like a lot of people thought, like this was the first time that they've ever like met within the Final Four of March Madness. But no, it's like in the whole entire NCAA tournament. Like they have never met before, and a lot of both teams are really good. I mean, they've been into the national championship plenty of times. They've been up there in March Madness, Final Fours, Elite Eights, Sweet 16s. They've been in all of those situations, but have never faced each other in the NCAA tournament. And I think it's really, really rare that it happens in the Final Four, and it's Coach K's last year. I just think it's very, very intriguing on how all of that kind of played out the way it did. So that will probably be the most tuned in game out of both Final Four games this upcoming weekend. And Tim, I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Duke wins this. I really think North Carolina probably came in, and I didn't even expect them honestly to make it past Baylor. I thought they were gonna lose to Baylor. Baylor kind of made that comeback late in that game to eventually tie it up, send it to overtime, but unfortunately lose. But they've basically handled everything that they've needed to do. But now I think Duke's just going to be a little bit too much. But then
Mhm.
again, I mean, they went in to Cameron Indoor and beat Coach K in his final game at Duke. I just feel like there's a little bit of that sweet taste of revenge in Coach K's mouth that he wants to get back at North Carolina. So I'm going to take North Carolina losing that game down there in New Orleans.
Right. And if you look back to the season series between these two teams, you mentioned North Carolina taking down Coach K in their final game at Cameron Indoor. But if you go back to their game in Chapel Hill, Duke dominated and controlled that game from
Right.
tip to finish. I mean, so it's definitely it's nearly impossible to predict what's going to happen. Both teams are coming in. I got to look at it and I say, man, I think North Carolina's playing better than Duke is right now. I mean, Duke is starting to find it for sure. Their talent is oozing everywhere. But North Carolina, man, I mean, it beat Baylor. I mean, they won their game against Marquette. They dominated them. They were dominating Baylor for a long time before Baylor finally woke up in the last half of the second half. But then they took on St. Peter's, who had, which you wouldn't think that would be the matchup in the Elite Eight. They're an 8 seed and a 15 seed, but they finally ran into the St. Peter's family ran into a North Carolina team that was just bigger. And that was a team like when you saw North Carolina play mid-major teams would keep them close if they shot well. But North Carolina would just overwhelm them with size. And that's exactly what North Carolina does. And they were eventually able to overwhelm their teams with their size. Brady Manick, dude, like the freaking ginger beard. I mean, he looks like a caveman. I mean, he's been absolutely a beast down underneath for them. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, they're playing about as good as anybody else in this tournament. I'm looking forward to it because I really do truly believe that the winner of that Duke North Carolina game is going to win the title. Because Kansas and Villanova, both teams are good. Don't get me wrong, but North Carolina and Duke are two of the hottest teams in the country right now. And honestly, I got to give the North Carolina. I think they're playing a little bit better. They've been hot throughout this entire tournament, and I kind of like the Tar Heels. I kind of like their chances to make this Coach K's last game ever.
I like your point there, and I'm going to agree with you on that. Where I think whoever wins this matchup wins the national title, because of the fact these two teams, I mean, they're both just playing at a high level right now. Villanova or Kansas really doesn't like stand out to me in this March Madness tournament as much as these other two teams do, and I think it's just kind of like the expectation for North Carolina. They really didn't. I don't think a lot of people saw them getting past Baylor. So I think there was a lot of people that didn't even have them going this far, or they were going to lose to Murray State or even Kentucky, or eventually down the road they were going to take a loss somewhere. But no one thought they would get to this point against Duke in the Final Four. So I think that's a very interesting point that you had there, Tim. And on the other side, Kansas Villanova. I really like Villanova's chances. I mean, they've done it before. I think it would be really, really wild if it was a UNC Villanova rematch in the national title game. I think that would be very, very rare to see. And it would be a really, really good game. But like you said, I would agree whoever would win that Duke UNC matchup would win the national title. But on the other side, Kansas to me, when I was filling out my bracket originally, I did not even have them. If I'm correct, I'd have to go back and look. I think they were down there in that Midwest region. Am I right?
I believe so. I don't
And
have a
so
way to check immediately.
I want to say I had them losing to Auburn, I think. Because I think I had Auburn as one of my favorites to come out of that region. Um, but
And that
Auburn,
makes sense. That Auburn team was playing really, really well. Unfortunately for them, they ran into a Miami team that just somehow, some way beat a very good USC team that I thought was going to win that game. And then they just continued to ride that momentum. And Miami was half away from going to the Final Four after beating Kansas, but and had an opportunity to. But Kansas just kind of flexed their muscles in the second half. And their defensive rotations in that half were just, when they went on that run, were just insane. They locked Miami up, and they got a huge lead, and Miami was just hoisting up threes to try to get back in, and they just weren't falling. So if Kansas is playing like that, they can beat anybody. And I like them because Villanova, one of their best players, tore his Achilles, so he's out, he's done. So with that said, man, it's just like if Kansas plays the way that they can, and Villanova, let's be real here. This game may be in the 50s. This is going to be the first one. If the team can get to that 55 mark, that might be the winner. I mean, but Villanova's shown they're capable of getting down, and playing defense. And that game in which they beat Houston by 6, 50-44. So
Right.
they're more capable of playing defense. Their defense is going to have to be on lockdown and have any chance in this game. But I just, with that star player being out, man, it's tearing his Achilles. I think they stay in it, but I think they eventually give way, and I think Kansas is just going to have too much for them.
I like that analysis, but I really still like Villanova, even though the guy tore his Achilles. They've been playing really, really tough basketball. And I think what was probably looked to be one of the hardest regions coming in to this March Madness tournament. And they've been able to handle everything, all the adversity, and I think they'll probably pull it out. But in a very, very close one, because like you mentioned, Kansas is a very good second half team. Because when I was watching that Miami game, they played a little bit flat, but like you said, in that second half, they really just kind of flexed their muscles and took control of that game in that second half. So it will be hard. I think Villanova, if they want to be able to win this game, they're gonna have to be able to take an early lead and then be able to maintain that in the second half. That will be a big key in that. But it's a really good matchup on that side. But um, I still stick with my Duke pick. Tim, do you still stick with UNC winning it all?
Yeah, I said it. I really do think the winner of that Duke UNC game is going to win it all because both teams are flat out are just playing. They're playing good defense and they're playing good offense. I mean, that's hard to beat. So I think overall that winner of that game is going to take it. They're going to have a tough challenge in that championship game because, like I said, Kansas and Villanova play really stout defense. But again, North Carolina's just been scorching hot. I mean, they haven't missed very much at all. It took them a minute against St. Peter's, but they were able to kind of keep them out defensively. But once they got going on the offensive side of the ball, they jumped out to a 20-point lead and never looked back. So, and again, I mean, they won their first round game by 30. They won their second round game in overtime, but at one point they led by 20 something. They beat St. Peter's by 20. I mean, just usually the team that comes in that's been dominating everybody usually does the best. They're obviously not going to dominate Duke. That's a entirely different team on the other side, but usually the team that has that edge that comes in with the most momentum. Most of the time that they come in, they get tested, and it matters of how you react when you get punched in the mouth, and that's what we're going to find out. Like they're going to be challenged, and I look at Evans and Baylor. They blew that 23-point lead within a matter of minutes. They got punched in the mouth. They went to overtime. That could have been deflated. Baylor could have ridden that momentum right into the Sweet 16. UNC bared down, played defense, and just took it to them in the overtime period, winning by 5. And that showed me right there that they're more than capable of taking it against a team like Duke as well. So I think that to me is evidence that I think North Carolina has what it takes to win this game and will win this game, which I can't believe it because who would have thought after the season they had, after the season the ACC had, only getting, I believe, 5, 6 teams in the tournament, but then having 3 teams reach the Elite 8. I mean, it's crazy stuff. So it's just hats off to them for an NCAA tournament run. And Hubert Davis in his first season in North Carolina, I think he gets it done.
I like two things that you mentioned, Tim. One, that you said bear down. UNC bear down against Baylor. I thought that was a good
Totally
job.
meant to do that.
Good job, Tim. Number two, we criticized the ACC all year long, where we were like, this is probably like the worst like Power Five conference within college basketball. Yet has 2 teams within the Final Four. I think they had 3 in the Elite Eight. So I mean,
Because Miami was in there, yeah.
you look on the other side. I think the Elite Eight. I think they had 3 teams maybe for women's. But I think they only have one advancing to the Final Four, and that would be Louisville. So I
Which,
mean,
by the way, that NC State UConn game was something else.
yes,
I wasn't able to stay up and watch that because you got to get up freaking early. But I mean, that's a heck of a game. I mean, that's one of those that you just like, wow, what did I just watch? So
yeah.
that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and we'll get to talk a little bit more next week on the women's tournament, as we'll bring in a special guest to kind of help us break that down for the women's tournament next week. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, the MLB is back officially, and that means we're going to be breaking down some of the things that have happened over the course of the past couple weeks, and also our preseason favorites going into the year. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back into the Sideline Sports Show. Hey, I was just informed if you're watching Twitter and you're trying to comment, we can't see your comments. So head over to our Facebook page or YouTube page, and
Oh,
you'll be able to interact there on our Facebook or YouTube page. That way we can see your comments and watch your viewing. So we can be able to make sure we can interact with you. So if you want to head over to Facebook or YouTube, Sideline Sports Show is what you can search. You can find it on Facebook and you can find it on YouTube and interact with us there as the show continues. All right, Tim. I want to. I wish I had a graphic for this, but our great Brave has left Atlanta. And we hadn't even talked about it.
yeah, I just realized that
We
we haven't
hadn't
gotten a
talked
chance
about
to
it.
talk about it on this show.
So, Tim, your initial thoughts. First, let's start with the Matt Olson trade that happened before Freddie Freeman could make a decision. What's your thoughts on that?
That was crazy, but I mean, I understand it. You know, AA has got to. You can't wait. And I'm sure they talked to the A's and because they wanted Matt Olson as the backup deal, and the A's are probably like, hey, we need to know now. And he's like, you know what? I can't take the risk. I can't wait anymore, Freddie. I'm sorry, but like we've had plenty of time to negotiate. We had a long. I mean, they had a long time, um, and it's just I can't wait anymore. So eventually, just he's like, I have to move on. And ultimately, if you look at it, I mean, Olson's younger. I mean, doesn't have quite the career stats quite yet, but I mean, like I said, he is younger, but he's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of potential. I mean, you got him for the next, what was it, 7 years, I believe they signed him for. I
Eight.
mean, 8 years. Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to have him. You're going to have Ronald Acuna and Ozzy Albies for like another 5 as well. So you got those guys under contract. I think Riley's even under for another like 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, you got a lot of talent. Olson, who played in a really big ballpark there in Oakland, smacked over almost 40 home runs a year ago. Just, I can't wait until the air thins out for him in the summertime in Atlanta because that ball flies out of there, especially to right field and that home run porch and the chop house. Whew, I'm looking forward to it, man. And obviously, you're going to miss a lot of the things that Freddie brought. He brought a lot of character to the team. He was the face of the Braves. He was the face of the Braves rebuild. Um, Whenever Chipper Jones retired and all those guys left, the Braves flat out stunk for a few years. I mean, there was one year they lost 100 games. I mean, they weren't competitive. It was just all right. The Braves are on. I guess I'll check the final score. I got other stuff to do, And they signed him for the long haul and be like, hey, we're going to build around you. And he's been in Atlanta for over a decade, man. So the fact that it's going to be someone else over there at first base that's not number 5, it's going to take some getting used to. But Braves country's, from everything I've seen, welcoming him with open arms. I really hope there's no animosity toward Freddie. I have seen a little bit of people not happy with Freddie, and I guess I get it from a certain standpoint because Chipper did try to warn him about Liberty Media, who owns the Braves, and he tried to warn him and didn't listen, and he ends up going to the Dodgers for about the same amount of money he would have gotten here just for an extra year. So it's frustrating, and the fact of the matter is that Freddie heard it all through, on TV because the reports his dad was there. He was heartbroken the fact that the Braves didn't tell him that they were moving on. But ultimately, that's business. It's unfortunate, but I think the Braves are going to be okay with this. It stinks because you lose them to the Dodgers, who, without a doubt, top to bottom, have the best lineup in all of baseball, and it's not even close. So, well, I won't say that the Braves lineup I think stacks up fairly well, but it's just from top to bottom. the lineup with the Dodgers is just incredible. So it's tough that you lose Freddie. It really is. It's unfortunate, but like I said, you get younger and you don't really lose a whole lot of production either. I mean, you got a guy that had more RBIs than Freddie last year. Home run totals, you're not gonna miss a beat there. In fact, you're probably going to get even a little bit of an uptick in terms of home runs. So I think Matt Olson's going to be a good addition to the Braves, and I think he keeps them right where they want to be, and that's World Series contenders.
Yeah. So my view on it was this: I feel like there was a deadline that Liberty Media and Alex Anthopoulos kind of made in their mind, like, "Hey, this is the day we need to know something by. If not, we need to move on." And I think that deadline was not met by Freddie Freeman or his agent, and I feel like there was a lot of miscommunication between the agent and Freddie Freeman in this whole entire ordeal. I really do. But at the end of the day, I agree with what you said. Matt Olson is going to be an upgrade. He's younger. He's producing about the same amount of numbers Freddie Freeman has for the past couple years. I think a lot of people are afraid what would happen when he gets to Freddie's age because he is now on an 8-year contract at the age of 27. So he'll be there till he's up there in the mid 30s. 35
Mm-hmm.
is when he'll be there till. So there's a lot of questions when he gets to that point. But I think when they get to that point, I think it kind of becomes a Chipper Jones thing where you're like, hey, like I just want to retire here, like. Whatever you got to do to my salary, just cut it. Like, I feel like that's probably what Matt Olson will do. Because, I mean, he played for the Oakland A's for crying out loud. I mean, he didn't make much money out there in Oakland. Um,
Yeah, they
that,
don't pay nobody out there.
yeah, they don't pay anybody. So I think what the Braves will do is probably what Chipper did when he was a Brave, and they'll kind of figure that out once they get to that point. But ultimately, I think it's a big boost to the lineup. I think what they've been able to do with that extra money that they didn't spend on Freddie Freeman has really helped the bullpen. Bringing in Kenley Jansen from the Dodgers,
Colin McHugh.
yeah, they're bringing in a bunch of relievers to help that bullpen because I think that was a big thing going into last year. And now you look at it this year, you could make a pitcher go 4 innings and just leave the rest of the bullpen, and you're gonna be fine. I mean, you're gonna be perfectly fine. And I think for Braves fans to look at and go, okay, that's a good thing to have. Um, and then
And it
Spencer,
takes away some stress from your starters as well, because like if they do have a bad outing, you're comfortable that you can still fill the innings to get to that 9 inning mark. So
absolutely,
and you have Maxick, I mean McHugh. I mean, in fact, a guy like Colin McHugh is going to be at like potentially a 6 inning guy. I mean, he's one of the best relievers in baseball in terms of ERA. He was coming off injured, I believe, but I mean, he's considered one of the best relievers in the game, and you're going to be pitching him
right.
in the 6th or 7th inning. That's something not a lot of teams have, man. And I mean, you're going to have Will Smith in the 8th, and then Kenley Jansen in the 9th. It's an embarrassment of riches right now in that Atlanta bullpen, barring everybody stays healthy.
Absolutely. But the biggest storyline was this, Tim, is Freddie Freeman signs to go to, I feel like, a big rival for the Braves now, the
Mm.
Los Angeles Dodgers. And with that happening, Dave Roberts came out and said, "Yep, we're winning the World Series title this year, no doubt." What, what's your thoughts on that, Tim? Because I know
I felt like all the media and everything took snapshots, and if they don't win it, and it come October towards November, they're out of the playoffs, or they lose in the World Series or lose in the NLCS to the Braves again. Everyone's going to be posting that graphic of him with that quote, and I'm sure Freezing Cold Takes is going to have a field day with that.
oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
and it's so. I mean, I get his confidence when your worst hitter on the team is Cody Bellinger. I kind of understand it, and he's been going through struggles, but still, when he's your worst hitter in your lineup, you got a pretty doggone good lineup. So they're definitely always fearful lineup, and you look forward to it because honestly, I hope we get a Braves Dodgers NLCS. I really do because I feel like that is just much watch TV. It would be the last two World Series champions. The Dodgers won it in 20, and the Braves won it obviously in 21. Get a rematch of those two teams, who the Dodgers were a pest in the Braves side or a thorn in the side for many years. Finally, the Braves overcome that hump and go to the World Series, and then be kind of like the rematch and say, all right, You guys spent this so much more money to beat us and get to that World Series and try to get that ring. Let's go see if you can earn it.
Yeah, I like that challenge that both teams are really making, because I don't know if you realize, but in Freddie Freeman's he didn't say it in his press conference. He said it in the letter to Atlanta. When you go back and look at that article, he said, I think, two things that kind of struck me um in his press release interview for the first time as him as a Dodger. He said some things that kind of threw some people off. May have lied about a couple of things between him and Alex Anthopoulos, and how the Braves have only talked to him twice. Um, I think there was more communication in that, and he apologized for that. That was one thing that he mentioned. But the second thing he said, "I'll see you in June, but I'll also see you in October." And I think that tells me that both sides know, like the Dodgers and the Braves know, they got the talent to go all the way. And I think it's going to be a really, really exciting event, basically, because I think this is going to become like one of those books where it's like the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers for years ago, like for the long time. You had Golden State and the Cleveland Cavaliers for the longest time. I feel like this right here for
Yeah.
baseball will be that next storyline for a very, very long time, because of how talented these two teams will be for years to come.
Yeah, and then you also had your Clemson versus Alabama there for a
Yeah,
4 year stretch. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I love that. See you in October. I mean, imagine the headlines: if Braves and Dodgers meet in the playoffs at all, whether it's DS or CS. Um, then they could, I guess, potentially meet in the wild card round, I guess, as well, because I know that
right.
they're expanding the playoffs. Um, but mention this: Tyler Matzik against Freddie Freeman, bases loaded, 2 outs. I'm
Oh
just,
man,
I'm picturing that matchup, and I look forward to it, man.
series tied. Oh man,
Oh, series tied, or it's a game 7, bottom of the ninth. It's a situation, Hopefully, it wouldn't come back because that would mean we would have the potential to lose. But still, as a baseball fan, I'd love to see that,
yeah.
and I really would. Just old teammates going at it for a chance to go to the World Series and play for a ring. So, again, we got a long way to go. It's only in March going into April. Wouldn't be till October sometime. But yeah, I think the Dodgers are probably going to go to at least a mid upper 90 win season. Could even approach 100 wins easily. Um, so Braves are going to have to bear down because that NL East this year is disgusting. I mean, just you look at it, the Phillies, they're bringing back. They've had their struggles here, but with that team is really good. Mets, you have Jacob DeGrom and Max Scherzer. When Max Scherzer's your number 2 pitcher, you got a pretty good rotation. You got to release a good front end rotation. Now they're going to have to overcome their struggles because they usually get off to a good start and then fall sometime between end of July, early August, on all the way out throughout the rest of the season. So that's going to be interesting. And then I think obviously the Marlins added Jorge Soler. I don't think that'll be a big enough addition for them. I think they're still going to be a little bit better as they keep improving. They were a thorn in the Braves side for at least the first half of the season last year. And then the Nationals, interesting about them, like, are they going to be rebuilding? Are the team that they're going to put out there on the field, how good are they going to be? So the NL East is loaded, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of star power, and not only in NL East, but also in the AL East. So overall, I'm looking forward to this baseball season. And also got some interesting storylines out west in the AL as well. So
Yeah, and let's go ahead and do this, Tim. Let's go ahead and give our preseason predictions for each um division, and we'll start with the AL because you mentioned there's a lot of interesting things going on in the AL. Let's start with the AL East. That's got the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Rays, and the Red Sox. Who do you got winning this division, Tim?
I got the Yankees, and I have the Blue Jays giving them a ride right behind them, and then the Red Sox finishing third. That's what I think will happen. I really like the Yankees this year. I know Josh Donaldson. They acquired him, older, aging player, former bringer of rain in Atlanta. But I like him. I think he's going to benefit from those short porches down the line. And I think that Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge have big years, barring they stay healthy, of course, because that's always the big issue with them, being able to stay healthy. And I just like them. I think that they have a good shot this year, and I think they actually have potential to make it to the World Series.
Okay. I'm gonna go Blue Jays. They're really young. They're very athletic. They
Very
add a
talented.
lot of depth to that whole entire roster. I think they could take this division away from the Yankees, who I have at my number two, the Red Sox at three for me as well. I just think the Yankees, they've always had problems with injuries. And with a little bit older and experienced roster, that comes part of as a factor of having that older roster. So guys like Josh Donaldson has struggled with injuries before. Aaron Judge, you mentioned he has to have a big year if he wants to get re-signed next year before becoming a free agent. So I think it will have to be a big year for him stepping up. I'm going to go AL Central next. I'm going to I don't even think this is really a debate. I'm going to go White Sox, Tim. But this includes White Sox, Twins,
Yeah,
Guardians, Tigers, and Royals.
Guardians. I can't. It's still weird not to say Indians, but we'll get over it eventually. Just like Commanders in Washington.
Yeah.
We'll get used to it eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely the White Sox division to lose for sure. Twins obviously signed Carlos Correa to that massive deal. I mean, they had some impressive signings, so you got to keep out for them. I think they'll make it with the expanded playoffs. I think they'll make it. I just don't think they're going to best the White Sox in that division, though.
All right, let's move down to the AL West. It's got the Mariners, Athletics, Rangers, Angels, and Astros. As much as I don't want this to happen, it's probably going to end up happening. Astros will probably end up with winning this division, Tim.
You're probably right. Astros are still very, very talented. I think you got to keep your eye on the Mariners out there. I know they haven't made a playoff since their magical run that they had setting the record of regular season wins back in 2001. They haven't made the playoffs since then. But the way they finished last year, I mean, they played exceptional down the stretch, just missing out on the last day, I believe, with like a game or two behind. I think that they played well, and I think they could very well take that momentum into the start of the 2022 season. I think you keep your eye on them for sure. Angels, Shohei Ohtani, Anthony Rendon, Mike Trout, hopefully coming back healthy. Um, I think they could have something to say about it. I think the Angels actually make the playoffs this year. Now, of course, I don't think they're going to win that division until I'm not going to think they win that division until they actually do it, because just so much talent, and even having a manager, Joe Madden. I mean, they've got everything there. It's just until you guys do it, I'm not going to believe it, because it's like always something like that. Not everyone's healthy. The pitching staff just isn't what they want it to be. So until they can get out of their own way, I don't think they're going to win that division or make it deeper in the playoffs. But I still think they can get there. So,
Okay.
but ultimately, I think it's the Astros division to lose.
I think that's a bold prediction. I mean, we're going to save that one. We're going to note that. Let's stay out west. NL West at this time. National League West. Diamondbacks, Giants, Rockies, Padres, Dodgers. Uh, as much as it pays me to say, give me the Dodgers. I mean, they got so much talent, and the only fear I have with the Dodgers is that sometimes when you have way too much talent, there becomes a lot of problems, and I don't know if that's going to be the case for Los Angeles, but I still think they win the division because they just got a lot of talent.
Oh, they should. I mean, their lineup is just completely and utterly loaded. I mean, anybody on any given night in that lineup can give you a 3-homer night. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just like, okay, like you can't intentionally walk anybody because the next guy's just as dangerous.
yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, I think they're talking about putting Max Muncy at second. I think he's played there before, but I mean, they're just able to move guys everywhere. It's incredible. And again, we were saying the same thing about them last year, and the Giants came out of nowhere and won 107 games. So I think they're going to be talented as well, the Giants. Now they lose their catcher, Buster Posey, who retired. It's a very successful career. I don't think they're going to be able to repeat that. So, and the Diamondbacks are still getting younger. They're very young. They're talented, but they're very young. So I think that they're still going to be in rebuild mode. I think San Francisco has a chance to make the playoffs as like a wild card team. Rockies signed Chris Bryant, so I think they'll be better, but I think they'll be kind of around the 500 mark. And then the Padres, who honestly they were looking like they were still going to make it. You know, they have Machado, they have Tatis. Both guys are there for a long time, but Tatis, of course, injures himself on a motorcycle. He's going to be out the first couple months. If they can survive that, they can potentially make a run. There's no way they're going to win the division this year. I'll mark that down. There's no way, just because the start they're going to be behind by so many games because they're injury riddled, and I don't think their pitching is going to stack up quite as well. That everybody's the front part of the rotation, but when you get to the final 3, 4, and 5 guys, I think they're going to struggle a little bit. And I think they're going to fall behind early, and I think they'll end up making a late push and to get into the playoffs. So. But we'll see when we get there. But ultimately, I think this is the Dodgers' division to lose.
All right, this is going to be an interesting one, Tim, because I feel like I have a very, very different view. NL Central,
Yeah.
Pirates, Cardinals, Reds, Brewers, Cubs. Who do you got?
All right. Well, let's just go and take the Pirates out. Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Take them out. Now they have talent. They're building around their center fielder Brian Reynolds. He was an all-star. He was a reserve, but he was still an all-star. So they're building around him, trying to build that farm system in. But I mean, the Pirates, ever since they got rid of McCutcheon and they had those good years with that team, Starling Marte and all them, they just haven't been the same. So kind of throw them out. Cardinals, I mean, they bring back Albert Pujols. They're a very talented team. I mean, they had that stretch last year where had they not fallen behind so early in the season, they had to challenge the Brewers at the end of the year because they had that stretch where they won 17 straight games, which all but secured their second place spot in the wild card before they lost to the Dodgers in the wild card game. So they're going to be tough this year. The Brewers obviously have Corbin Burns, the reigning Cy Young winner, the reliever Josh Hader, who was dynamite last year for them. Very tough left-handed reliever out of the bullpen. They've got a lot of good pitching. Brandon Woodruff. I mean, they're loaded too. So definitely got to look for them in the Cardinals. I think that's going to be between these two teams. The Cubs are. I think the Cubs are interesting. Ever since they unloaded everybody, they're kind of in rebuild mode. So I think they're going to be kind of going back to that stage where they lose a lot of games. I don't think they're going to be to the point where they were losing 100 games again, but I see them probably losing 90 games this year, if I had to guess. Somewhere around there. And then the Reds are going to be talented. They had that guy, Jonathan India, who's a beast, man. He's a lot of fun to watch. I think they're going to be a team to look out for that could sneak in due to the expanded playoffs, and I think they'll be playing around 500. But like I said, I think this is a division between the Brew Crew and the Cardinals, and especially with the addition of Albert Pujols, who gives you a late option. Occasionally he'll start at first base. I doubt he'll be everyday first baseman at 42 years old, but he'll give you that option off the bench late in the game.
Yeah, I think with the Cardinals, they got a lot of veteran talent with Molina, now Albert Pujols. I'm trying to remember the pitcher, too, that's going to retire at the end of the year.
Wainwright, maybe?
Yeah, it's probably Wainwright. They got a lot of veteran talent, which I think will be really good. Milwaukee will be up there. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the Reds because, they just got rid of Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, a lot of guys that have been there for a while. So it'll be really interesting to see how they kind of rebuild that outfield a little bit. But I'm going to go with the Brew Crew. I think their pitching staff is just phenomenal, and it's going to be phenomenal again this year. So give me the Brew Crew beating the Cardinals, but keep an eye out on the Cardinals. That will be a big thing to see at the end of the year. And then finally, Tim, our favorite division, and I think this is probably the craziest division in all of Major League Baseball, the NL East. So, Tim, give me your thoughts, because for me to break this down, I got to hear somebody else break it down first.
Yeah, no, definitely. First of all, I'd say probably go ahead and toss out the Marlins. They added Jorge Soler. They have Jesus Aguilar first. They're building some, man. I mean, it was just a couple years ago where the Braves were just dominating them left and right, seeming like they were just not able to put up a fight. This past year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they won the season series against the Braves, and when they ended up winning the World Series. So, but I think they're still building. They're still a good ways away. Could have a chance to sneak in, if there's an expanded playoffs. But I just felt like there's too much talent in the division, so I think they'll end up probably finishing last, or second to last. I think the Nationals will finish last. I think the Nats are going to lose 100 games this year. I don't believe in them at all. Juan Soto, they're just going to pitch around him all the time, and if they can't get any support around him or get anyone to back him up, It's going to be a long season for them for sure. Um, then he leaves between the Mets, Phillies, and Braves. Man, I mean, the Mets adding Scherzer, they have Degrom. Again, the big problem was they weren't able to keep Degrom healthy last year. They keep him healthy. I mean, when he went down, the whole team vibe just kind of went boom, straight down. They're a talented team. They have Francisco Lindor. I, do they still have Starlin Castro? I don't remember if he stayed with the team or not, but
I'm not
I
sure.
think he did. I think he did. But so that, like they're very talented. Pete Alonso, the two-time defending home run derby champions, or first baseman. They're very talented on offense. Somewhat decent-sized ballpark, so I think that could play against them.
Robinson Cano comes back this year.
Could come
Play
back, yeah.
second base.
And so I mean, they have a lot of talent. They have the pitching. They always have the pitching. It's just the problem is putting guys behind Degrom and Scherzer, be your 3, 4, and 5 guys to give those guys rest because Scherzer coming off a year where his arm was taxed. He even said in the playoffs, he's like, "Yeah, my arm's dead," and that created a lot of problems for him. So that he's not going to be able to kind of be that workhorse. And if you're the Mets to be successful, he can't be. You're going to have a success behind him. You're going to have to have guys that are ready to go. And the biggest problem for them is their bullpen. They getting guys in there that won't blow games late, and then getting Degrom and Scherzer some run support. I mean, Degrom. I mean, as great as the guy pitches, it feels like he gives up 2 or 3 runs, it's over with because they can't score behind him. So being able to fix that. Phillies, obviously, they have Bryce Harper, Reese Hoskins. They're very talented. They're very loaded. They've got a good team. They're going to need Aaron Nola to kind of get back to his winning ways. Again, that's the biggest question for them. They're starting pitching. And then that's the same thing for the Braves, too. You look at them, lineup stacked. Until Acuna gets back, their weakest link is going to be Alex Dickerson, who's going to be the DH. But, I mean, he's coming off a somewhat decent year. So he could be a decent option off the bench until Ronald gets back in late April to DH. Again, your strength, bullpen, obviously. You got Colin McHugh, AJ Minter. I'm going to probably leave somebody out. Luke Jackson, who's injured right now, but Braves faithful forget. Everybody just remembers the NLCS where he struggled and the Dodgers hit him around. The Dodgers hit right-handed pitching. They didn't hit left-handed pitching very well. And as we saw with Tyler Matzek, that was very true. Other than that, Luke Jackson had all-star caliber numbers. I mean, the dude was legit. I think had a 1-point-something ERA in the regular season. I mean, it's how quick Braves faithful forgets that. So he's very good when he's healthy. Obviously, you have your Will Smith, who we had a lot of problems with him during the regular season. Gave up runs, but he didn't blow many saves, but he gave up runs. He always kind of left you on the edge of your seat by the end of the time, and you felt like you needed an adult beverage or like a lemonade or something just to kind of kick back and relax and be like, okay, we're good, But he's now your 8th inning guy who didn't give up a run in the entire postseason, if I'm not mistaken. So. And then you have Kenley Jansen to close things out. So a lot of good stuff there. Weakness, I would say, your starting rotation. You have guys Max Fried, Charlie Morton, and Ian Anderson. Anderson's had a little bit of rough spring. Hopefully, he'll be kind of able to rewrite that. His command with everything other than his changeup's been a little erratic, so he's going to have to kind of fix that. But then filling in behind him, I mean, you've had a guy like Spencer Strider. In spring training, he's been pumping out 100. Former Clemson prospect or Clemson product. He's pumping out 100 during spring games. He's starting games. I don't know if they're going to use him in the bullpen or what. I mean, just imagine having all those bullpen arms, and then you're going to bring out a guy throwing 100. So overall, I think the Braves are going to be fine. It's just going to get innings from their starters in any way that you can. Past Fried, Morton, and Anderson. So. And then, of course, that lineup's very strong. So, again, the division's really strong. Until the Braves lose the division, which they haven't lost since 2017, I got to ride with my Braves. I got to ride with them. I got to ride with the ATL. And I think that they'll pull it out again. I think it's going to be a really close race. I think there are going to be multiple teams with 90-plus wins. But I think the Braves ultimately pull it out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start from the bottom, go from the top really quickly. I'm gonna go Nationals. It's just like you mentioned. There's nothing there but Juan Soto. We're gonna go Marlins at 4. That like you mentioned, they bring in Jorge Soler. I think that's gonna be a huge addition to their outfield, or even if they use him as a DH. Either way, big addition for them down there in Miami. I'm gonna go Phillies 2. And here's why I say that. And you just mentioned it as well. Starting pitching is going to be a huge question mark for the Phillies. I'm going to do the Mets 2 and the Braves 1. And it's just like you mentioned. Max Scherzer, I mean, he was saying, you mentioned it, he's exhausted. Can the Mets keep that arm from going out or even injuring it during the middle of the year, um, due to how much he pitched in basically the whole entire postseason, because he pitched way more than he was supposed to in the postseason for the Dodgers last year. And then it's just like you mentioned, if the Braves can't be beaten right now for the past 4 years, I don't see anybody else right now taking control of it. But it will be very, very, very exciting to see how this division turns out. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, our rank 'em segment will start up, and we will rank the top plays over the past couple weeks. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back into the Sideline Sports Show. Final segment here as we are getting ready for our rank segment presented by Section 103. Make sure to go check out our friends at Section 103 using your 10% off code on your first order using code Sideline at checkout. Make sure to go check them out, section103.com. All right, Tim. Here we go. Let's go ahead and begin our segment here. I need to be over here. All right, here we go. This is the favorite one. Look, Texas Tech.
I mean, the awareness on this is just flat out pitiful. I mean, the pitcher just kind of going his motion like he's all cool and everything. It's like, dude, hey, there's a guy right there in front of you. If you're a lefty, it makes sense, right? Because at least your back's turned. You are facing the guy. You are facing him. And he does it to you. Unbelievable.
Next day, opposite grand slam.
Apo Taco.
For Texas Tech as they win the series. I don't even know what this man did Sunday, but I don't even think it matters. I mean, he literally did this back-to-back days. And it'll show it here in a minute. He just horns down like 5 or 6 times. Like, he is just pumped that they beat number 2 Texas back-to-back days as Miller basically hero. I'm gonna give it both of them an awareness 100 for the first day, but overall probably a 9 out of 10. I don't think you steal home plate and then walk it off the next day with a grand slam.
Yeah, I'll give that pitcher's awareness. If there ever is another college baseball video game, needs to be at 0 because that was just flat out pitiful.
Yeah. All right, number 2. Let's stay with baseball. Tim, this is familiar for you. Josh Zinner. What's up with the opposite field home runs to walking off stand?
Yeah, it was crazy. The wind was blowing straight in too, so like he hit this against the wind, and he goes oppo with it. I mean, the wind was blowing in. You can't see the flag; it's in right center field. I don't know if you can see it here. Nope. But it's just blowing, pounding in. I mean, it's a good 15 to 20 mile an hour winds that he hit that ball. And then he did it later in the day as well. AG was down 8-1 in this game, Ben. 8-1. They come back. It's for 8 unanswered runs, and eventually Center walks it off again later that day. Sweet Mount Olive.
And they flew out all of that turn right out of Greenville. You know what? Josh Zinner give me an 8 out of 10. You, my friend.
Give me a 9 out of 10. 2 walk-offs. I'd love to have 1. 1 was awesome. 2 in the same day. Unbelievable.
All right, number 3. Let's stick with college baseball one more time. The announcer got the hands. Look at this. It's about
my
back.
guy. Is that Spider-Man's father? Like what? Dude, it just went in like it was like it just stuck in there. Impressive. 10 out of 10 on that one. Holy cow.
All right, let's go to the hardwood. Number 4, Jordan Poole. Look at this. Jordan Poole.
Ooh. Ain't got to do that to him in between the legs there. Oh my goodness.
Right there. Unbelievable. I'll give you
one of those you dream about doing it on the basketball court. You know, you're out in your driveway. You imagine that in your head. and that's how they go. He just
8 out
did
of
that in
10.
the NBA game.
8 out of 10, 4 short for Jordan Poole.
I'll give it an 8 as well.
Yeah. All right, number 5. We got. Let's keep it on the hard way. Green Jr. A little fancy move. Look, we gotta slow down. Is that not carrying though? That's like
It could be a little bit of a character. It could be a miss. Yeah, I mean, okay. Oh, I think I remember that was a nice move. I'll give him the move was a good 8.5 out of 10. Carrying might maybe take it down a little bit.
I'm 7
Close though.
carrying. The Hawkeyes, Big Ten championship on the line, knocks it down from the logo.
Wow. Hey, look, great shot. 10 out of 10. I'll give him 9 out of 10 for that. Then I'll give him a 1 out of 10 because they literally lost the first game to Richmond in the tournament. So ultimately, it was a great ending, but then you go in the tournament and you flame out to Richmond. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost right at the logo. So it's gonna go down a point. I thought it was on the logo. This is not the best play of this whole entire thing. I'm gonna go 7. 6.5. 6.5 out of 10. I mean, it's a deep 3, but
It is a deep 3.
but like you said, they lost in the first round. So very disappointing. All right, TCU at Kansas. Oh my goodness. We gotta slow it down and see it again. Over.
Woo!
On TCU.
Catching that with one hand is tough enough. But to also throw that down like that, whew, that was tough. I'll give it a 7.
I'll give it an 8. As we go to play the Rays, we got to throw a little broad highlight in there once in a while. Over our former teammate Kevin Love.
That's not one way to show love, my friend. I mean, goodness gracious.
I mean, he sent Kevin Love to the grave. I mean, his head's at the rim, Tim. Look at that. Unbelievable.
So that's what Will Smith meant by spreading love. Okay.
All right, and then he chokes him out trying to end his NBA career. But yeah, definitely got to love. Number 9. All right, let's see. Let's go soccer. Now, you may not see something right here, but we have to slow this down for you. Egypt loses this game because of this PK. And you see them, look at this. I couldn't shoot it like that, Tim.
How is that allowed? I mean, come on, ref. My guy, what are we doing here? Like, how is that allowed? Why is that allowed? Stop the game until those pointers are gone. Unbelievable. 0 for the ref.
Yeah. Atlanta United, they were down 3-1 with only 10 men. Diego Almada with
strike and a half right there.
Yeah, we'll show you the replay in just a moment, but man, down 10 people, down to 10 men. Atlanta United comes back, and this is replay number 1. You may like it from this angle, you may not. So I gave you another angle to look at. This is the other angle. Fakes it out right here. And then buries it home in that top right corner. I mean, unbelievable strike from Diego Almada. I don't know. Give me a 9 out of 10. I mean, that's impressive footwork. But that's not the only play we got in this. Brooks Lennon to tie it up. Ooh. In the 92nd minute, Atlanta United ties it up as they end up tying 3-3 that still get a point for Montreal Impact. I mean, look at this. Just a hard strike. Both plays, I mean, they're not at 10 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the strike was way better the first time, but the second time goalie probably should have had that one, but still, nonetheless, coming back.
Honorable mention.
Oh Lord.
11.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
What do you rate this play?
I'm honest with you, that was good form. That was good form. He didn't go rare back. He just went and whack, boom. Get out! Don't talk about my wife like that.
Oh man, and that is our Rankum segment of the week presented by our friends at Section 103. I gotta give the slap probably like a 10 out of 10, Tim. I mean,
I
he
would say
said
form
I
wise, it was good. You know, he didn't see it coming. You know, it wasn't one of those rare backs and tried to haymaker type slaps. He just went whop like with everything he had, and that's textbook. That's how they teach you how to do that. So
he said
I'll give him a 10 out of 10 as well. You know, and 10 out of 10 to Chris Rock, who probably told a joke he shouldn't have told, but nonetheless, able to wear it. I mean, just completely war ethic, and then continued on with the war show like almost borderline nothing happened. It's like I mean, if that would happen to me and most guys, we're throwing hands, bro. Like you just embarrassed me on front of national television. I'm not about to let you do that.
no,
So
it's true.
credit to him for being able to kind of. It's like, hey, I got a job to do. I still got to do it.
Basically, Will Smith went up there and said, "I will rock you," and slapped the crap out of him.
Oh,
Oh man, Tim.
oh boy.
All right, real quick, we got 4 minutes. I wanted to ask you a question for the longest time, Tim, and I've yet to ask you as we end our great day here on the Sideline Sports Show.
Okay.
There's a big question that has been going around in the world, Tim, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Are there more doors or wheels in the world as we end this, as we end today's show, Tim?
At one point, I said wheels, but now I'm thinking doors. I'm going back to wheels. Huh?
I said I'm Team Doors. I mean, let's be real. And you can say there's more Hot Wheels in the world, but you got to think like there's more like business buildings in the
See, that's
world
what I
than
was
there are
thinking. All
Hot
the
Wheels.
Hot Wheels and toy cars, though. But then you go to businesses, and even on the cars in which you have wheels, there are doors on that for those too. I don't know. At first, I was Team Wheels because I really thought there were more wheels out there. But I'm starting to think I'm kind of starting to lean towards door. And plus, I'm right in front of me. Distance, I got 1, 2, 3 doors.
Exactly. I got a
So
door
four
right
doors actually.
here.
Never mind.
There's a
So
door up there. I mean, but I'm just thinking in everybody's household, there's not enough cars to equal out more wheels than there are doors within your house. So I
yeah,
was
I was
thinking,
I was Team Wheels. So I was totally against that. But now that I think about it, and I truly think like a lot of things that have wheels on it have doors. So it's
yeah.
like I don't know, kind of Team Doors now.
All right, sweet. All right, now if you missed the Rankum segment, you got to come watch us here live on Thursdays. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Come check out. And in order to do that, you got to follow all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. All of them Sideline Sports Show, except Twitter, it's Sideline SP Show. Go follow all of our social media pages. You can see everything on all of our social media platforms. Um, as they go up. All right, Tim, that is going to do it for this edition of the Sideline Sports Show. Any thoughts before we close out? I know we have a huge special guest coming next week on the
Mhm.
show to talk about women's basketball, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. You know, women's Final Four is. I will say for a lot of things that people say about women's basketball, the Final Four is usually always a treat. It's always a lot of fun. It's really good basketball. It's a lot of fun. And then also we have of course, North Carolina versus Duke in the Final Four, which could be Coach K's last game ever. If he wins, he goes to the national championship. He loses, have to live with the fact that North Carolina knocked him out of that. He'll have to live with that forever. So definitely something to look forward to there. Major League Baseball is literally this time next week. We'll have baseball games being played. So looking forward to that. So I'm looking forward to the next time we get together, Ben, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Until next week, have a great week, and we will see all of you guys next Thursday night. And I hope y'all have a great week. We'll see y'all next week.
Later.